Okay, so earlier I showed you how to set up a Vagrant install of Lightning. So you basically have your basic vanilla install. And today what I'm going to show you is how to create some pages and um, how to create a page controller and deal with some of the templating systems that are here. So first I just want to point out a few things on this is the first page that we have created, and this was built in automatically as part of the default content. If we go here to pages, what this will show us is actually a list of pages that we have created, and there's two of them here by default, the index page and the 404. You'll notice that the index page loads automatically when there's nothing in here, and the 404 page, if you type in anything, that's kind of the default that comes up here, whether you type in .html or not. And with the 404 page, if you wanted to edit what it says here, or actually, so now that we're on a 404 page, you can see that I put in this URL here, and it understands, because it's got an HTML suffix, that this is supposed to be static content, so this is managed by the page handler. So if we go in and edit this, it automatically populates the URL. So let's just say I go to new page.html and I want to create this as an actual page. Then here's the URL. I can give it a title, which is automatically going to show up in an H1 tag. Keywords, description, template, all these other fields are basically the standard meta tag pages. And here we have the body text. So you can actually input HTML here, and I'll show you a little bit later how you can set this up pretty easily to use CK Editor and CK Finder or EL Finder. There's basically, you can use any text editor you want here, so that can all be customized, and you can also use this. There's also a lot of versatility with it as far as if you wanted to add a template. You can do a lot of things like this. So there's basically custom tags that you can create that will be managed for you. Now they're much simpler than Twig. So if you're familiar with Twig and their double bracket, this doesn't do for loops or anything like that. It's really much simpler, and the reason for that is for speed. Anything that you want to do like that can be done in the template file itself, and the template files are actually written in raw PHP. So the date is basically for metadata, the priority is for a Google XML, and so we can insert this page, and now we actually have this new page.html. Now if you wanted to edit the 404 page, you could just go to 404.html and you can say this is my custom 404 page, and update that, and you can see that text here. And now if you go to any random page, you'll still see that same custom 404 page. So you'll notice some other things here. Let's go back to our index page. Here at the bottom we have a footer, which is built inside of, you can see there's a section here with a div inside of it. This is all written in the template, and I'll show you how to edit that in a little bit. But for now, the way this is set up is when you create different pages on your site, let's say you have landing pages or other types of static content, you might not want this right column, you might not want this, you might not want the menus or the header. So what you can actually do with these options in here is you can say, okay, for just this page I'm going to hide the header, I'm going to hide the menu, and so now that's gone. It's always going to show the admin menu. We can hide the footer, we can hide, we can get rid of the right column, and so now that stuff's gone. Now this other one, full width, what this actually does is, you'll notice before it was in a column, and this is that was part of Foundation's column system, part of their grid system. If you want to go outside of that column, and let's say you want to have an image in the background that goes all the way out to here, then you can do that by making the page full width. Now the full width doesn't affect the header, the menus, or anything else. So as far as that stuff goes, if you want to change any of that, you can do that directly in the template. But what this allows you to do is basically have multiple templates. So you can have your template with or without the footer. You can have your template with or without the menu without having to go in and create separate templates for each one. So now let me show you how routing works before we get into creating a custom page. Inside of your site install here, you have a source folder, which is all of your custom stuff, and then you have your Lightning folder, which is all the Lightning code. Now the Lightning folder has templates, and it also has a config file. You don't ever want to edit these files directly in the Lightning folder. So for example, if there's ever an update to Lightning, you can pull that and you can update this directory without having to worry about merge conflicts because you changed a template or the configuration. Instead, what you do is you have everything in your source folder, and this will override the Lightning folder. So in the Lightning folder, in the configuration, you'll see some basic things like the session time, how long a session lasts, and for the most part, these can be excluded from your site configuration, which is here config.inc.php. You can exclude that from here, and it'll automatically propagate from Lightning's config. But if you wanted to change this, instead of changing it here, you would go to here, and you can see there's already a session variable. And so let's say we want to change the remember TTL, which is basically how long a cookie is going to last if somebody logs in and checks the box that says remember me, and we can change this to 100 seconds. And so now this will override the length of the session. So here we can see the default template, and so let's go ahead and create a custom template. So in the Lightning templates, we have our default template, which is template, and basically this says what module this is in. This is in the default Lightning module, and I'll get into modules later, but this can either be a string or it can be an array with two strings in it. If it's an array, the first one will be the name of the template and the module. And the name of the template doesn't include .tpl.php, it's just the name of the file. So inside of Lightning, we have this original template, and I'm just going to copy that. Let's replace this with custom template. This is all name-based, so you don't need to put in directories or anything like that. It knows that because you're not specifying a module, it's going to be in the source directory. And so we're going to make a directory here called templates. And inside of that templates, we're going to make this file that we want to point at. So that's custom template.tpl.php. And we're going to paste that same template in here, except let's go to the header, and where it says welcome, we're going to say welcome to my custom template, and save that. And now if we pop back over here, and we're going to reload it, and we should see that header, except we still have the header turned off. So let's go to edit, and actually you can already see it's showing up there. But let's turn off hide header, hide menu, hide footer. Let's put that all back. And so now we're back here, and we can see that this is coming from the custom template. So this is my new site. Let's say into my new site. And this is just a little subheader that shows up on the menu bar right here. And so if we reload that, we can see that we are editing this custom template, and that's what's displaying here. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a custom page handler. So the way this works is we're going to create a directory called pages. And you can see that Lightning already has a directory called pages. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to create a similar directory that has different pages in it. And so let's create a new one called test.php. And this works in namespaces, and the namespace root is source, so it pretty much goes just like the directory structure. So you want to start with a PHP tag, and you want to do namespace source pages class test, and now we have a page class. One important thing that you want to do from here in most cases is you want to extend page, which is Lightning view page. And what this does is this has certain features in it which are very useful for handling a page. basically it will automatically construct the page based on the templates you tell it and all sorts of other things. In order to pull this page up, first what we'll do is we need to create a route for it. So we'll go into our configuration file and we'll go down to the bottom, and you can see that we have different routes here. And so that you can understand all these routes, basically you have dynamic routes which are matched using a regular expression. So for example, anything .html, anything .htm goes to static pages or blogs. Everything else is mapped statically with a fixed string. So what we're going to do here is we're going to create a new page called test, and we're going to write in the full path to that class, which was source pages test. And we don't need to add .php because this is a class name and not a PHP file. And so now if we go to our website /test, it's going to pull up that page. Now the first thing you're going to notice is that pages are automatically given access denied from the beginning, and this is a security feature. So so you don't create a page and forget to limit access to somebody. And again, this is one of the features of being the page controller. So when you do extends page, this is one of the features that comes with that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a protected function has access, and the parent function will just always return false. And so basically what we want to do is override this, and if you want this to be publicly accessible to everybody, you can just do return true. Now you can also do other things where you can check if the user is an administrator or any type of access verification you want there. So now when we reload it, you see this. Now we have this right column again, which we don't have any blogs, so we want to hide that for now. So on this page, what we can do is we can do protected right column equals false. And this allows for all the same settings that we saw when editing a page. So now when I set that to false, that's gone. If we wanted to, for example, hide the header, we could do protected hide header equals true, and that's going to get rid of the header. So let's take that back out for now. We can set these variables here. We can also set the templates. So there are two templates here, and by default, when you look at the page, you have your template, which is your overall template, which is your header, your footer, and all of that. And then you have your page content template, which for the default static content is called page, or for the blogs is called blog. So what we want to do here is we want to create one protected page equals test. So this page parameter right here is actually the name of a template, and so we're going to create another template here, and we'll call it test.tpl.php. Now, the reason that we're not using doing protected template equals test is because well, let's put some content in here first. This is a test. Okay. So if we were to set the template, this is going to set the overall page template. So if we were to save this and run this, all you're going to get is that template. But if we get rid of this template so that the main outer template is still our custom template, and we just have page set to test, and then we reload it, now we have this is a test inside of that template. So let's make this a little bit, let's see here, let's do, this is just going to print a variable, and so let's call this output. And so it's not set, so when we load this, we're not going to see anything, right? And actually this is all just HTML, so let's put it inside of an HTML tag. Okay, so so we can see here that that paragraph tag is there. There's just nothing inside of it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go and we're going to set this output variable. So let's go back to the test page handler, and This is a regular GET request, so there's nothing special to it. So we just want the main function that's going to load with this page, and to do that we're going to do public function GET. And so this is going to be called first, and we can just do echo test just to see if that's running, and we'll see that it outputs that before it builds any of the templates. Okay, so now we don't want to actually echo anything here. We want to use this to define some information for the template. So first, let's load the template. And so you can have multiple template instances. When you call template get instance, what this does is this actually loads the global template, which is the one that's going to be used by the page handler at rendering. And so we can actually get this instance now, and we can do template set, and we're going to set a variable, and we called this variable output. So we're going to set the variable output to test get function. And let's run that, test get function. So let's say we want to have a form here. So let's do form method equals post, and input type equals text, and let's just do name equals name, and please enter your name. Okay, and then we'll do input type equals submit, name equals submit, value equals submit. Okay, and let's see what that looks like. So now we have a form here. One of the cool things, because this is all built on Foundation, is you don't have to go and stylize all this. You can actually do class equals button, and you have a nice styling there. And what Lightning has on top of that is just a few extra classes. So you can do button orange, and now you have an orange button. What we're going to do is this is going to post back to the same path. If we want, we can specify this directly, so we can do action equals test. So we're going to post, make sure that we post back to the same location. And what we're going to do is I'm going to put my name in there, and I'm going to press submit, and let's see what happens. So the first thing that happens is it gives me a warning that there's an invalid token. What this is if you're familiar with CSRF tokens, basically this prevents cross-site submission forgeries. So the easy thing to do here is all we have to do is add form render input token, and what that's going to do is that's going to make sure that we have a session established, and it's going to insert the token into the page. So let's go back here and reload so that we can make sure that token is there. And if we inspect, we can see that that's there now. Okay, and so now I'm going to put Dan and submit. Now it's going to say method not available. What it's trying to do now is you'll see that we're on the same location, but it's trying to post instead of get, right? So what we're going to do here is we're going to do public function post, and let's do the same thing, template equals template get instance, and template set output hi, and we're going to use the request post. So this is going to pull in a variable from the post array of name, and so it's going to put my name there. Now this does a little bit of content filtering. You still want to treat it as untrusted data, so the request function does allow you to do certain validations. You could do request type, and these are all the different types that you can. So if they're only allowed to input base 64, which comes in handy for APIs, Booleans, encrypted is a special format that actually it's base 64 with a few extra exceptions in there. And you can see that there's all kinds of data types in here. So if you leave this blank, it's generally not going to do too much, so you really don't want to do anything like that unless you're going to somehow validate this, but we're just going to leave it as is for now. And so we're going to come back over here and we're going to reload the page and continue the resubmission, and it's going to say hi Dan. So we can see that it's accessing this one, it's not accessing this one, it's not setting output as test get function. It's going to call one or the other. Now here's another thing that you can do. Let's say, for example, we're going to have two forms, and we want to be able to differentiate which one was actually clicked. So please enter your name, and let's say please enter your first name, and please enter your last name. Now when we get to this other form, when we get to this page, all we're going to know is that something's been posted and it's got a name field on it. So how do we differentiate this? Well, we can make another hidden field. Input type equals hidden, name equals action, value equals first, and let's copy that down here and say value equals last. Okay, now when you submit this now, let's reload this so we see both forms. And so please enter your first name. And let's submit this and see what happens. Method not available. Right now it's looking for the post function, but it says that it sees that we sent an action of first. So the regular post function actually isn't going to work. What it's looking for now is post first. And so what we can actually do is create two of these, post first and post last. And for last, we can add a Mr. because that's how you would call someone by their last name. And for the first name, it's just going to say their first name. So now what we can do is let's resubmit this again, and it's sending that action first name, and it says hi Dan, and I'm just going to put my last initial. And if I put this one, it says hi Mr. B. So this one, it knows it's adding Mr. because it's calling post last, and it knows to call post last because it has this hidden field that says action equals last. So whenever you do, whenever you send the action, it basically just differentiates between a suffix that's going to be added onto this. Now you can also do this with a get. So let's say, for example, public function get, and we want to do get first. And so what this means is we can do name equals Dan, right? So this is going to set the name parameter, and we can do action equals first. Now it's going to do the exact same thing. It's going to call the get function, but because we did action equals first, it's going to add action equals first. So you'll notice that that's still blank, even though we have request post. Well, post only pulls from the post parameters. So if we want to get from the query string, we can do request query, which is also going to get that. And that's going to pull specifically from the query string. So if we did query on post, you'll see that this is actually going to be blank, because there's nothing in the query string when you send it as post. What you can do also is get, which is a little bit misleading. What this really means is get name from anywhere. So if we look at the actual request function, we can see first it's going to try to get it from post, then it's going to try to get it from get, and if it's not there, it'll just return the default value, which that's another option that you can do with these, is you can set a default value in there. So for the most part, you can use just the get function, but if you want to tighten up security a little bit, then you can use your query or post functions, which they work exactly the same. They take the same parameters. You can add your request type, and that's going to require that. Now another interesting request type is email. So you can actually require a valid email be passed in, and what this will do is it'll actually just return null if it's not a valid email. So as you can see, these handlers are very versatile. You can use them for just about anything. You can call the database here. You can load all your data, and you can build it into these pages and show it. And there's not a whole lot of work to do. You don't have to create modules or create all these a million different pages. So if you have a custom page that's not static content, this is the way you want to create that.